Start right now living an extraordinary life. Join your life coach and favorite auntie, Carla D. Tillery, and co-host LA on the Chair Chronicles. Having those important life talks and giving you advice to help you live your best life.
Hey.
Hello.
We're back.
We're back.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. And we are going to talk about how do I recover from a broken relationship.
How apropos is that? Because Monday is Valentine's Day. So,
right. We're coming up on Valentine's
Yeah.
Day. And it's interesting about holidays because everybody doesn't get excited.
They don't.
And sometimes if you're in a good relationship, great.
Right.
And then others may not be in a relationship and may be feeling some kind of way about Valentine's Day coming up.
Yeah.
And then if you're in a bad relationship, you
Even
know,
worse.
it might not be any celebrating going on.
No chocolates, none.
And then if you just broke up out of one,
Oh, yeah.
you know, this can be a very hard time for people.
It is. It is.
You know.
And, you know, having been that person that has gone through a breakup a couple of years ago, you know, and Valentine's, you know, I'm definitely one of those people that celebrate the holidays. I love the holidays. And so, you know, it definitely was different.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, there's a way to still enjoy it.
Right. Okay, good. So we're going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And we're going to help those that are in broken relationships that are really trying to recover from it and might not know just how.
Right.
And so one of the first things that I always, you know, just encourage them to know is that it's okay to have some emotions about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because sometimes, you know, you'll be like, oh, get over it. You'll be fine. Push through. There's more fish out there. You know, we have all these expressions to try to coat, right, what someone is experiencing.
Right.
And while I understand it, I don't want the person to walk away not going through the process.
That's right.
Because the process will require you to feel something.
Right. And it's important. It's important because you have to heal from that in order to move on.
Yes.
You have to. And you have to allow yourself to have those emotions.
To have
and
those
trust
emotions.
Me, there's a myriad. I'm
Right,
sure you're going to unpack a myriad of them. Yes.
So while, and I think in any situation where there is a loss in your life, have the expectation that it is okay to grieve.
Yeah. It is.
Have that expectation that you're going to grieve as part of that process. Whether it's a family pet, whether it's a loved one, whether it's a relationship. Anytime there is a loss. Yeah. Listen, we almost go through this when you can't find your phone.
Okay. Getting ready to shed a tear. Please don't let me have lost my phone. Yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, experiencing loss is a unfortunate, natural part of life. Yeah. It is absolutely a natural part. It's a natural experience.
Right.
And it is okay to have the expectation that you're going to grieve.
Yes.
That there's going to be some sorrow associated with it. Right. Perhaps some pain, some emotions associated with the loss. Yeah. So that's the first thing, because I think so many times we try to suppress it.
Oh, yeah.
Or either we just try to quickly get in another relationship so that we don't experience losing the one we had. Right. Good or bad.
Good or bad.
A loss is a loss.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
That's right.
So take the time to grieve.
And it doesn't mean that you're sitting in a corner with your knee, you know, you're clutching your knees, crying. It shows up in different ways for different people. Right. But allow yourself to feel it.
Yes. You gotta.
And it's okay.
And it's
okay.
It's okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the first things. Now, I know, as I just said, like one of those common expressions are there plenty of other fish in the, you know, in the sea, and it was probably for the best and all of that. Right. Those things can be hard to hear depending on how you are in accepting grief and moving through grief. Right. So as you just said, it's going to vary. Right. And what I mean by that, the time. Because sometimes we want an expiration date of these feelings being expired so that we can move on and be okay.
Right. It doesn't work that way. It doesn't.
Right. Yeah. And it's just like looking at our produce, right? Right. we don't know exactly when that green pepper is going to start to like rot away,
get soft, and,
right, and get soft and get all that extra juice that just like this green pepper ain't working out right. Right? And so my point is that even though you know it will expire at some time, we don't always know when.
Right. And again, that expectation that you're just going to feel okay the next day or a week from now, you're going to be okay and you're just going to move on. It might not happen that way.
It might not happen that way. But I will say is that I would encourage the person that is in a broken relationship or just broken up to find a new source of joy.
Right. And that might not happen right then in the moment.
Right. That's why it's the expiration agreement. You don't know.
Right. But you can find a place. Because again, your head is going to be you literally are going to just play out every scenario, up, down, sideways, and all of that.
Right.
But you don't want to lose your joy.
You don't want to lose your joy.
Yeah.
And I think, again, experiencing loss is very challenging.
It is.
It can be very difficult. But when you can find something that you can go to kind of lift you, to make sure that you are still strengthening your mental state and your emotional well-being, that's always a good thing.
It is.
It is not about ignoring that you have a loss, but it's about making sure that you include something additional in your life.
Right. And I think that also helps you mentally, because you don't want to fall into this place where you're excited about nothing. If you were that person that used to work out and you worked out while you were in the relationship, why can't you still do that?
Why can't you still do that? Exactly.
It's self-care while you are going through this process.
Yes. That's right. Go through the process. But still find a new source of joy. Yeah. And again, this is in addition to.
Right.
And it's going to depend on the timing of how you are processing this in this individual base.
Right.
All right. One of the things that broken relationships can do is it can tear down perhaps your identity, perhaps your esteem. Yeah. It can chip away at your value and your worth, because the loss now may indicate that there's something is wrong. I know you was about to say it with me, right?
Yeah.
That something is wrong, that there's some failure inside of you, that there's some missing link, there's something that you don't have full capacity of. And so what happens is we can start to tell ourselves, send ourselves certain messages that may not be true.
Right.
So in order to not do that, make a list of what you like about yourself.
Yeah. And that's so true, because what you do is you start to pick away, like you said, I should have done this. I didn't do that. Maybe if I had done this, and those are questions that you will never get the answers to, because sometimes things have an expiration date.
Sometimes, and sometimes it just wasn't meant to be. Right. It just wasn't meant to be.
And it does not mean that you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you're not worthy enough. And so it's important that you do not take that on and think that you're a failure. Because a relationship has ended, it does not mean you have failed. There's a learning process.
It's a learning process. And when you think of it about a journey as part of your life, then you're going to find, okay, you'll do some assessment and say, what do I want to work on? Right? But it doesn't take away the values that you do have and that you do bring to life that you do bring to others. And sometimes you have to remind yourself of your value and your worth, because a broken relationship can chip away at that. And sometimes we don't even recognize that the relationship has done that until after you've broken up. And then you're like, oh my God, you are trying to pick up your friend, your girlfriend, your guy. You're trying to, you're trying to talk to your friends in your network, and you're like, this is not you. Don't take that on. Don't wear that. Because that's not who you really are. So,
and your identity is not tied to the relationship that you are in.
And that could be an element to why the relationship didn't survive. Because if you make your worth and your value dependent upon the other person that you're in a relationship with, you are in trouble because you're hanging on for them to affirm you, to make sure that you feel special, to make sure that you value. Now, not to say that you don't want somebody to do
those things, right?
But it shouldn't be solely dependent upon someone else doing that for you.
That's right.
That's something you got to do for yourself.
You have to do it for yourself.
You got to do it for yourself.
Yes, because if you do not, any relationship that you have is doomed. Because again, you are putting that burden. You're making someone else responsible for how you feel about yourself. And it is not their responsibility.
Your happiness is your responsibility.
Yes. How you
and that is so, listen, I remember as a little girl, you know, you watching TV, and listen, this was back in the day of soap operas. I know they don't really exist anymore.
Ryan's Hope, all of those.
But they give little girls these images about what love looks like and what relationships look like.
Right.
And they're fairy tale kind of storylines. Yeah, I know they got some drama in there, right?
Right.
But you know, even to the point where, you know, the love scenes, they're waking up, they fully got makeup on, and they're all everything is so perfect. And you know, like the romance and the relationship dating is all of that, you know, and every relationship doesn't model those.
No, it doesn't.
Images. And so you've got to be careful that, you know, you are looking at yourself like independently, and that you are defining what makes you happy, and not relying on the guy or the girl or the whomever to be like, you know, doing all these things to make you happy.
That's right.
And even, you know, not a little bit of gossip, but only according to what we've seen on interviews with Will Smith and Jada Pinkett, that they talked about that happiness being, it can't be dependent on the other person.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And because they've been very open about their relationship.
Very open.
Yeah.
Very open.
And I know that, you know, that determination that I have to make myself happy was something that they had spoken to.
Yeah. That's a really good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
All right. So sometimes it might be necessary to express your needs to others.
Right.
And I also think that in evaluating the relationship, how did it go? Where did things make a turn?
Right.
That I believe that when you start to see, did I really know what I wanted? Did I know how to communicate it to the person I was in relationship with? Maybe an area, maybe a growth area for you. Because oftentimes we think we know what we want, and we're assuming that the other person
just knows.
Right. And then when you're like, well, what do you want? You can't even say.
Right.
You can't even articulate.
Can't do it. Right. Right. And then the flip side of that is, if you're a great communicator and you know and you've expressed it, and it's not being returned. I mean, you hear, you're very clear about what it is that you need and what you want. And that person is like, okay, I hear you, but there's no show and proof.
There's no show and proof. So you really taking time in expressing, your needs to others is twofold. Right. I think you need to go back and look at the relationship to see, how well did you communicate what you needed. But in that moment of dealing with your grief in the process, you have to go through after have been in a broken relationship. Right. You might need to express what you need to others in your support system. Right. Whether it's a little bit of time, just to kind of regroup. Right. Whether it's, a hug, whether it's just spending some time so you don't feel so lonely. Maybe you need someone who can listen to, help you process your thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that expression to others is twofold.
Yeah. And then you get the support you need.
And you get the support you need. Right. So the other thing is, you mentioned self-care. So one of the things that we kind of talk about a lot when we're trying to kind of come up out of something is the using activity and exercising and movement. Right. Because what you don't want to do is get so stagnant, or you're just staying in your room with the blinds down, the lights off, that you start to sink into a hole. Yeah. Is that encouraging you to do activities, exercising, the self-care. Right. Very, very
important.
Valuable.
It's valuable. And again, it's not to placate and it's not to excuse what you're feeling. Right. But it's a way to just get those endorphins going. You'll start to physically feel better before the emotional part takes hold. So physically, you want to keep yourself hydrated.
Yes.
You want to, you want to eat. And I get it. A couple of days, you might.
Right. There might be a couple of days where you put the ice cream in front of the TV late at night.
But make sure you get a good one. And then it's like, okay, I've got to shake this off.
You got to shake it off. Yeah. And so I really think it's important that as we're thinking about our mental health, that we don't stop doing things. Right, that we know are healthy for us.
That's right.
So the exercising, the getting out, and making sure you're still living is still important. Not to say you don't deal with the grief in the process, but don't stop all the things that you know are healthy.
That's it. That's
right.
It.
The last thing you want to do is come up out of that and you all plump and fluff and stuff.
You gained like 50 pounds.
Right. That's the last thing you want to do.
You don't want to do
You want to, when you get to the other side of your being in a better state with your grief, you want to still look good, feel good, right? And so you want all of that to be intact.
Yes.
So don't lose it.
Don't lose it.
Don't lose it.
Self-care.
Self-care. The other thing, so this one is going to be good, right?
Okay.
Finding meaning to the breakup.
Very important.
Finding meaning to the breakup.
Yes.
That can be very hard because sometimes, depending on the situation, there may not be a clear explanation.
I was getting ready to say that. Yeah.
But that still is a response to the question about what is the meaning of the breakup.
Right.
It's just harder to embrace.
Right.
When it really kind of propels additional questions.
Right. And for myself, I can remember that I was looking for an apology. And it finally just like dawned on me, what if you never get it?
What if you never get it?
Are you going to stay in this place? Or are you going to just say, okay, what did I glean from this? What did I learn about myself from this?
Right.
And am I able then to answer the question for myself? I apologize to me. I apologize to myself for questioning myself and, or whatever it takes for you, And I did. I wrote a letter. I wrote a letter to myself, apologizing for allowing myself to get to a place where I was just, because I was one of those people that eating and I'm just,
because it happens.
Yeah, it was just,
it's a natural thing to kind of find something to soothe you. Yeah. Whether it's food or whether it's something else.
But I like that. I like the fact that, we tend to search for an answer and there might not be one.
There may not be one. And in some cases, there may be one, but what I have found with working through sort of situations with people is that we don't want to see and accept the truth and what was real about the relationship.
Right.
And when you have somebody who can really help break down, like, what was real and what was fictional and what did you just really hope for?
Right.
Then you start to see exactly what you responded to. And in some cases, in some relations, we're responding to something in our head that never really existed and never really formed as a truthful fact about that relationship.
Wow. And that's being honest. That's
being
true.
honest.
That's being truly honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at it from a perspective of not how I wanted it to be, how I thought it was,
but what was real.
What was real.
What was real.
Yeah.
What was real. What was real about the communication.
Right.
Was it harsh communication? Was it communication that built you and lifted you? Right. Was it communication where there was an understanding when you walked away that I understood you and that I will respond to it? Right. Because one thing I know about relationships is when there is a conflict, there's one thing to just share how you feel about it and your perspective and your point of view. It's something different to have your partner respond to it.
Wow.
Very different.
Totally different.
And what we recognize, we talked about it, but did you resolve it? And what does that resolution look like? Because the resolution should call for some type of response.
That's a good one. And we don't think about it in that
resolution should cause for some type of response.
Right. It's not, okay, we agree to disagree and we just move on. That's not resolution.
What's the response?
Right.
What's the response? What's the change of behavior that may be required as a result of the type of conflict that occurred?
Right. And the other part of that too is also being honest with yourself and saying, was I really happy? Did I just stay because I felt like they owed me, or I owed it to myself?
That goes back to what was really real. What was the truth of the relationship? And when I've counseled couples, I've had to literally stop them and say, is that what was real, or is that something that you just wanted or that you were hoping for?
Wow. Because and I bet it just opened up a floodgate of true thinking.
The truth is, you've been saying from day one that you wanted such and such to happen, and it didn't happen.
Right.
The truth is, the need that you expressed was not met.
Right.
And oftentimes, it's like, oh, I was really happy, but were you? To your point, when you break it down and have people to sit and think and reflect on things they've shared, how they really have felt from day one. Oh, but I knew he was like that, but I thought, I saw that she was like that, but I thought that once we got together. No, the truth is, you saw that in their behavior and in their character, and they stayed true to that even after you decided to be in a relationship.
Right. Because you thought somehow, some way, you were going to change them.
Thought you was going to change it. Again, it's about what is the truth. And in many cases, the person showed up and you didn't want to see what they presented you with.
Yeah. And what's that saying? When someone shows you who you are, who they are, believe it.
And sometimes we put these blinders on through the love, through the affection,
we want to be connected.
Through the idea that we're in a relationship with someone. Yeah. And sometimes we just don't want to see what's directly in our face. Yeah. And so find the meaning. And when I say that, it's about really being diligent to see what was the real truth of this relationship that I was in. Right. And that might help give you some answers as to why the relationship has broken up. And if you can't find that, then perhaps it's just accepting the fact that this was not the season, this was not the time or the person for me to continue being in a relationship with.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay. That's healing. That's okay. There's healing in that.
Because there's nothing worse than trying to pursue a relationship with someone who does not want to be in relationship with you. And you're pushing and you're pushing and you're pushing. But yet you keep hurting yourself because you are building yourself to have some expectation that will not be met.
Right. And then you become angry at that person.
Yeah. The bitterness and the shame and the guilt and all of those things that start to come up.
Because you deserve to be in a healthy relationship.
Yes.
And you deserve to be healthy.
Yes.
So,
it's okay. Valentine's Day is special, even if it's just you alone.
That's right.
Love celebrate yourself. Celebrate you. Love on who you are. Love on your attributes. Love on what's great about you.
That's right.
And you'll find yourself being able to celebrate Valentine's Day, whether you're in a relationship with someone else or whether it's just you and self.
There you have it.
And dare I say, if you can celebrate it with just you and self,
oh yes,
boy, you're gonna be the bomb diggity when you're in a relationship with somebody else.
You better say it. You better say it.
You'll just come with your whole self in such a different light.
That's right.
When you have such an appreciation for who you are.
Yeah. And it's an everyday process. It's an everyday speaking affirmation over ourselves and over our lives.
Right.
Our words have power.
So love on yourself. Yes. Tell yourself that you love who you are. Yes. Even though there may be some flaws and there's things you want to work on. There is nothing like looking at a child, knowing that they still have growth opportunity. Oh, yeah. You still want to let them know that you love them where they are. Right. So love yourself where you are.
That's right.
Appreciate who you are and the value that you bring to life and to others that you come into contact with.
Come on,
let's
now.
look. My shirt, I'm wearing a shirt that says love,
right? Yes.
Because I want that to be something that I embody, that I am loved, that I love myself, and that I have others that love me.
Absolutely, we do. Love you, girl.
Yes.
Love you, girl.
And
yes.
we love our Chair Chronicles audience. So listen, we want you to like this podcast and share this podcast, and also let us know if you're struggling with a broken relationship. We would love to engage in a conversation with you. If you're struggling with finding the meaning, you feel free to reach out to me as your life coach. I would love to partner with you and be your accountability partner to help you live your best life.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
So as always, we want you to stay tuned and stay connected on the Chair Chronicles.